First of all, I am grateful to all of you gentlemen that you come to our channel. Today we will talk about Nikola Tesla. Often the question comes to our mind, who is Nikola Tesla? Yes, his theories were right. How he became a great scientist. Is he a forgotten genius? Which are his intentions? Is he won any Nobel Prize? Today we are going to answer all these types of questions so that you can easily understand it. So let's start. The rise and fall of Nikola Tesla. On the 7th of January, 1943, an old man died. He was in a room at the New Yorker hotel. The man had lived alone in this hotel room for the past 10 years. Outside, the city of New York was full of lights. These lights were the result of an idea the old man had had many years before. This man was once famous for his idea. But many people had forgotten about the old man. No one seemed to care. The man died alone and with very little money. He was the great inventor Nikola Tesla. Amongst many inventors throughout the history of science, one of the most prominent inventors was Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla was an inventor, an electrical engineer and a mechanical engineer. Nikola Tesla was also a Serbian-American engineer who was highly regarded for his achievements in energy for the advancement and growth of alternating current, AC, in electrical systems. He also provided his extraordinary contributions to electromagnetism and wireless radio communications. His estimated IQ scores range from 160 to 310 by different measures. He had an intense rivalry with Thomas Edison throughout his life, and many of his projects were funded by J.P. Morgan, who would later become his business partner. Tesla believed his mind to be without equal, and he wasn't above chiding his contemporaries, such as Thomas Edison, who once hired him. If Edison had a needle to find in a haystack, Tesla once wrote, he would proceed at once with the diligence of the bee to examine straw after straw until he found the object of his search. I was a sorry witness of such doing that a little theory and calculation would have saved him 90% of his labor. Nikola Tesla, born July-September 10, 1856, Smiljan, Austrian Empire, now in Croatia, died January 7, 1943, New York, U.S., Serbian-American inventor and engineer who discovered and patented the rotating magnetic field, the basis of most alternating current machinery. He also developed the three-phase system of electric power transmission. He immigrated to the United States in 1884 and sold the patent rights to his system of alternating current dynamos, transformers, and motors to George Westinghouse. In 1891 he invented the Tesla coil, an induction coil widely used in radio technology. At the age of 19, he was studying electrical engineering at the Polytechnic Institute at Graz in Austria, where he quickly established himself as a star student. He found himself in an ongoing debate with a professor over perceived design flaws in the direct current, DC, motors that were being demonstrated in class. In attacking the problem again, I almost regretted that the struggle was soon to end, Tesla later wrote. I had so much energy to spare. When I undertook the task, it was not with a resolve such as men often make. With me it was a sacred vow, a question of life and death. I knew that I would perish if I failed. Now I felt that the battle was won. Back in the deep recesses of the brain was the solution, but I could not yet give it outward expression. He would spend the next 6 years of his life thinking about electromagnetic fields and a hypothetical motor powered by alternate current that would and should work. The thoughts obsessed him, and he was unable to focus on his schoolwork. Professors at the university warned Tesla's father that the young scholar's working and sleeping habits were killing him. But rather than finish his studies, Tesla became a gambling addict, lost all his tuition money, dropped out of school and suffered a nervous breakdown. It would not be his last. In 1881, Tesla moved to Budapest, after recovering from his breakdown, and he was walking through a park with a friend, reciting poetry, when a vision came to him. There in the park, with a stick, Tesla drew a crude diagram in the dirt, a motor using the principle of rotating magnetic fields created by two or more alternating currents. While AC electrification had been employed before, there would never be a practical, working motor run on alternating current until he invented his induction motor several years later. In June 1884, Tesla sailed for New York City and arrived with 4 cents in his pocket and a letter of recommendation from Charles Batchelor, a former employer, to Thomas Edison, which was purported to say, "My dear Edison, I know 2 great men and you are one of them. The other is this young man." But what his contemporaries may have been lacking in scientific talent, by Tesla's estimation, men like Edison and George Westinghouse clearly possessed the one trait that Tesla did not, a mind for business. And in the last days of America's Gilded Age, Nikola Tesla made a dramatic attempt to change the future of communications and power transmission around the world. He managed to convince J.P. Morgan that he was on the verge of a breakthrough, and the financier gave Tesla more than $150,000 to fund what would become a gigantic, futuristic and startling tower in the middle of Long Island, New York. In 1898, as Tesla's plans to create a worldwide wireless transmission system became known, Wardenclyffe Tower would be Tesla's last chance to claim the recognition and wealth that had always escaped him. A meeting was arranged, and once Tesla described the engineering work he was doing, Edison, though skeptical, hired him. According to Tesla, Edison offered him $50,000 if he could improve upon the DC generation plants Edison favored. Within a few months, Tesla informed the American inventor that he had indeed improved upon Edison's motors. Edison, Tesla noted, refused to pay up. "When you become a full-fledged American, you will appreciate an American joke," Edison told him. Tesla promptly quit and took a job digging ditches. But it wasn't long before word got out that Tesla's AC motor was worth investing in, and the Western Union Company put Tesla to work in a lab not far from Edison's office, where he designed AC power systems that are still used around the world. "The motors I built there," Tesla said, "were exactly as I imagined them. I made no attempt to improve the design, but merely reproduced the pictures as they appeared to my vision, and the operation was always as I expected." Tesla patented his AC motors and power systems, which were said to be the most valuable inventions since the telephone. Soon, George Westinghouse, recognizing that Tesla's designs might be just what he needed in his efforts to unseat Edison's DC current, licensed his patents for $60,000 in stocks and cash and royalties based on how much electricity Westinghouse could sell. Ultimately, he won the War of the Currents, but at a steep cost in litigation and competition for both Westinghouse and Edison's General Electric Company. Fearing ruin, Westinghouse begged Tesla for relief from the royalties Westinghouse agreed to. "Your decision determines the fate of the Westinghouse Company," he said. Tesla, grateful to the man who had never tried to swindle him, tore up the royalty contract, walking away from millions in royalties that he was already owed and billions that would have accrued in the future. He would have been one of the wealthiest men in the world, a titan of the Gilded Age. His work with electricity reflected just one facet of his fertile mind. Before the turn of the 20th century, Tesla had invented a powerful coil that was capable of generating high voltages and frequencies, leading to new forms of light, such as neon and fluorescent, as well as X-rays. Tesla also discovered that these coils, soon to be called Tesla coils, made it possible to send and receive radio signals. He quickly filed for American patents in 1897, beating the Italian inventor Guglielmo Marconi to the punch. Tesla continued to work on his ideas for wireless transmissions when he proposed to J.P. Morgan his idea of a wireless globe. After Morgan put up the $150,000 to build the giant transmission tower, Tesla promptly hired the noted architect Stanford White of McKim, Mead, and White in New York. White, too, was smitten with Tesla's idea. After all, Tesla was the highly acclaimed man behind Westinghouse's success with alternating current, and when Tesla talked, he was persuasive. As soon as completed, it will be possible for a businessman in New York to dictate instructions, and have them instantly appear in type at his office in London or elsewhere, Tesla said at the time. He will be able to call up, from his desk, and talk to any telephone subscriber on the globe, without any change whatever in the existing equipment. An inexpensive instrument, not bigger than a watch, will enable its bearer to hear anywhere, on sea or land, music or song, the speech of a political leader, the address of an eminent man of science, or the sermon of an eloquent clergyman, delivered in some other place, however distant. In the same manner any picture, character, drawing or print can be transferred from one to another place. Millions of such instruments can be operated from but one plant of this kind. White quickly got to work designing Wardenclyffe Tower in 1901, but soon after construction began it became apparent that Tesla was going to run out of money before it was finished. An appeal to Morgan for more money proved fruitless, and in the meantime investors were rushing to throw their money behind Marconi. In December 1901, Marconi successfully sent a signal from England to Newfoundland. Tesla grumbled that the Italian was using 17 of his patents, but litigation eventually favored Marconi and the commercial damage was done. The U.S. Supreme Court ultimately upheld Tesla's claims, clarifying Tesla's role in the invention of the radio, but not until 1943, after he died. Thus the Italian inventor was credited as the inventor of radio and became rich. Wardenclyffe Tower became a 186-foot-tall relic. It would be razed in 1917, and the defeat, Tesla's worst, led to another of his breakdowns. "It is not a dream," Tesla said, "it is a simple feat of scientific electrical engineering, only expensive, blind, faint-hearted, doubting world." By 1912, Tesla began to withdraw from that doubting world. He was clearly showing signs of obsessive-compulsive disorder, and was potentially a high-functioning autistic. He became obsessed with cleanliness and fixated on the number 3. He began shaking hands with people and washing his hands, all done in sets of 3. He had to have 18 napkins on his table during meals, and would count his steps whenever he walked anywhere. He claimed to have an abnormal sensitivity to sounds, as well as an acute sense of sight, and he later wrote that he had a violent aversion against the earrings of women, and the sight of a pearl would almost give me a fit. Near the end of his life, Tesla became fixated on pigeons, especially a specific white female, which he claimed to love almost as one would love a human being. One night, Tesla claimed the white pigeon visited him through an open window at his hotel, and he believed the bird had come to tell him she was dying. He saw 2 powerful beams of light in the bird's eyes, he later said. Yes, it was a real light, a powerful, dazzling, blinding light, a light more intense than I had ever produced by the most powerful lamps in my laboratory. The pigeon died in his arms, and the inventor claimed that in that moment, he knew that he had finished his life's work. Nikola Tesla would go on to make news from time to time while living on the 33rd floor of the New Yorker Hotel. In 1931 he made the cover of Time magazine, which featured his inventions on his 75th birthday. And in 1934, the New York Times reported that Tesla was working on a death beam capable of knocking 10,000 enemy airplanes out of the sky. He hoped to fund a prototypical defensive weapon in the interest of world peace, but his appeals to J.P. Morgan Jr. and British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain went nowhere. Tesla did, however, receive a $25,000 check from the Soviet Union, but the project languished. He died in 1943, in debt, although Westinghouse had been paying his room and board at the hotel for years. Things you may not know about Nikola Tesla. The shock of his brother's death turned him into a mystic, at age 7. The defining event of young Nikola's childhood was the day he witnessed the death of his older brother Dane in a riding accident. In the years following the tragedy, Tesla, the son and grandson of Serbian Orthodox priests, began seeing visions of the air around him filled with tongues of living flame. As an adolescent, Tesla learned to exercise his willpower to control the visions, but in later life he would spend much of his time feeding and, he claimed, mystically communicating with New York City's pigeons. Tesla was briefly reduced to digging ditches for a living. After graduating from university, Tesla worked for Edison's electric company in Paris, but traveled to the United States in 1884 in the hopes of working directly for Edison, the leading figure in the race to deliver electric lighting and power to consumers. Tesla quickly gained a job as an engineer at Edison's headquarters, impressing the Wizard of Menlo Park with his hard-working ingenuity. After Edison casually mentioned that he would pay $50,000 for an improved direct current, DC, generator design, Tesla worked nights until he came up with a solution. Edison refused to pay up, claiming he had been joking. Soon after, Tesla quit to form his own electric company. While he searched for backers to support his research into alternating current, Tesla took a job digging ditches for $2 a day to make ends meet. With help from Mark Twain, Tesla nearly discovered X-rays. Twain and Tesla became friends in the 1890s, thanks in part to Twain's lifelong fascination with technology and new inventions. Visiting Tesla's lab late one night, Twain posed for one of the first photographs to be lit by incandescent light. In 1895, Tesla and photographer Edward Ringwood Hewitt invited Twain back to the lab to pose for another photo, this one lit using an electrical device called a Crookes tube. When Tesla reviewed the resulting photographic negative, he found it splotchy and spotted and decided it was ruined. It was only weeks later, after German scientist Wilhelm Röntgen announced his discovery of what he called X-radiation produced by Crookes tubes, that Tesla realized the photograph of Twain had been ruined by the X-ray shadows of the camera's metal screws. He invented a remote-controlled boat that he thought could end all warfare. At the height of the Spanish-American War in 1898, one of Tesla's side projects was a miniature boat that could be started, stopped and steered with rudimentary radio signals. When he filed a patent for the device, the U.S. Patent Office refused to believe that it could work, and so dispatched an agent to Tesla's Manhattan lab for a demonstration. Tesla also showed his boat to a string of other important visitors, including J.P. Morgan and William K. Vanderbilt. He told the New York Post that his invention, which would allow battles to be fought without putting humans at risk, would render warfare itself obsolete. Battleships will cease to be built, he predicted, and the most tremendous artillery afloat will be of no more use than so much scrap iron. His claims of receiving signals from outer space were proven right, a century later. During the summer of 1899, Tesla set up a field laboratory in Colorado Springs, Colorado, to the possibilities of using high-altitude stations to transmit information and electric power over long distances. One July day, while tracking lightning storms, Tesla's equipment picked up a series of beeps. After ruling out solar and terrestrial causes, he concluded that the signals must be from another planet. The following Christmas, in response to the American Red Cross's request for a prediction of the greatest scientific achievement of the coming century, Tesla wrote, "Brethren, we have a message from another world, unknown and remote." It reads, 1, 2, 3. In 1996, scientists published a study replicating Tesla's experiment and showing that the signal was in fact caused by the moon Io passing through Jupiter's magnetic field. Famed architect Stanford White designed Tesla's laboratory. In 1901, Tesla convinced financier J.P. Morgan to invest $150,000 in a new venture, a powerful laboratory at Wardenclyffe, on the northern shore of Long Island, that would be the new center for Tesla's work on long-distance radio and electric power transmission. Stanford White, the country's leading architect and Tesla's longtime friend, designed a single-story lab with classical proportions, backed by a giant, 185-foot-tall tower. Tesla once paid an overdue hotel bill with a model of his death beam. The defunct lab at Wardenclyffe was eventually turned over to the owners of the Waldorf Astoria in partial payments for Tesla's debts. Decades later, the managers of the Governor Clinton Hotel were given a similar piece of Tesla collateral, a wooden case the inventor said contained a working model of his potentially war-ending particle weapon. Tesla's death beam, he was insistent that it was not, as the press reported, a death ray, would be able to stop any invading army, thus making warfare pointless. When he turned over the box containing the model, Tesla warned the hotel's employees that they must never open it. They fearfully complied, hiding the box in a storeroom. After his death in 1943, the box was pried open and found to contain nothing but harmless old electrical components. Some famous Nikola quotes. "Be alone, that is the secret of invention. Be alone, that is when ideas are born. The present is theirs, the future, for which I really worked, is mine." If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. I don't care that they stole my idea. I care that they don't have any of their own. Of all things, I liked books best. Books: Nikola Tesla, My Inventions, The Autobiography of Nikola Tesla, Hart Brothers, Pub, 1982. Margaret Cheney, Tesla, Man Out of Time, Touchstone, 1981. Articles: The Problem of Increasing Human Energy with Special References to the Harnessing of the Sun's Energy, by Nikola Tesla, Century Magazine, June, 1900. Reflections on the Mind of Nikola Tesla, by R. Chandrasekhar, Center for Intelligent Information Processing Systems, School of Electrical, Electronic and Computer Engineering, August 27, 2006. Hi friends. I hope you are all learned something about Nikola Tesla. If you learned something through this video, then please support us. Have a nice day. Goodbye and take care.